While much of the Kingkiller Chronicle focuses on the backstory of the young and talented magical protagonist Kvothe, as we follow him on his adventures from travelling performer to beggar to student of the Arcanum, a big chunk of the story takes place years later in a small farming village. Here, Kvothe lives a life of simple innkeeper, while he tells his autobiography to the scribe chronicler. This overarching frame story is important because it provides us with other perspectives besides that of our main character. One of these interesting perspectives is that of Kvothe's assistant and pupil Bast. To most of the townsfolk, Bast is a friend to the red-haired innkeeper, supporting him in many of the day-to-day activities of the Waystone Inn. He is described as dark and charming, with sharp and delicate features, and has a way with the ladies. Yet there is more to this charismatic companion than meets the eye. Let's begin with what we know. Bast is secretly of the Fae, a creature who hides his true appearance under a glamoury, a type of feigned magic which makes a thing seem like something else, rather than changing its inherent nature. This magic is quite useful in helping someone with a pair of goat legs like Bast hide their distinct appearance from mortals, enabling him to traverse the human world unrecognised for what he really is. Bast and Kvothe appear to have a close relationship, though the backstory of how they met and come to consider one another as friends has not yet been revealed. Based on their interactions together, Bast seems to care very deeply for Kvothe, almost to the point of idolising him. Often, Bast will refer to Kvothe in a respectful manner by calling him Reshi, which we can take to mean teacher, master, or something akin to the position of a mentor. While Kvothe relays his tragic tale of heroism gone wrong, Bast listens attentively. There are further scenes of affection from Bast, which comes off as a sort of reverence towards his mentor. The fact that he cares much for Kvothe is proven time and time again, especially following the red-haired man's fight with a couple of soldiers during an interlude in the Wise Man's Fear. It is here where Bast displays a form of healing magic involving milk, honey, and blood to take Kvothe's pain and wounds away and transfer them to himself. This seems like a dangerous bit of Fae craft, and we haven't seen anything like this in the story so far. But it's clear that Bast wants the best for his friend, going as far as to put Kvothe's needs and health above himself. He was also probably feeling guilty, as we later learn that Bast sent those soldiers to attack Kvothe. Why would he do this? Well, because he wants his old Reshi back. He wants his friend to come out of his despair, to be that mesmerising, larger-than-life man once again. He reveals to Chronicler at the end of The Name of the Wind that he deliberately let slip information that Kvothe was hiding out in Noir to a random wagoneer in the hopes that someone would come looking. Years ago, people saw Kvothe as a hero, and he played the part. He wore it like a mask, but eventually he believed it. It became the truth. But now he only sees himself as an innkeeper, and a failed one at that. This new role has become his truth, and it's killing him, slowly. What Bast wants is to pull Kvothe out of his stupor by using Chronicler to help his friend remember the best parts of his life, to direct him towards the more pleasant parts of his story, his adventures, the heroics, the cleverness, the woman, all while steering clear of his failings. When Chronicler objects to this, Bast becomes furious, informing Chronicler that he belongs to him, and that he will do as he commands, going as far as to threaten the scribe if he doesn't comply. Here we get to see a much darker side to Bast than his usual graceful demeanour he shows in public. It would seem Bast got this idea to restore Kvothe to his true self during the events of the Lightning Tree novella. Bast appears as the focal character in this short story, where he makes deals with the local children of Noir. In an exchange with one of these children, Kostrel, he tells Bast that he should write a book about the Fae. This catches Bast off his stride, and he looks thoughtful, considering the kid's words about how people write stuff down so they can show off. Clearly, Bast isn't considering writing a book about the Fae, but we find out in his conversation with Chronicler that he did once try to get Kvothe to write a memoir, hoping to remind him of his accomplishments. Although the plan to encourage his master to finish writing a memoir failed, Bast hasn't given up on this idea yet, and is now entangled chronicler in his schemes to restore Kvothe's power by recalling his past life. No doubt Bast is determined to bring the real Kvothe out to the surface, but his actions make me question just how far he's willing to go to achieve his ends. In many ways, Bast is a lot like a younger Kvothe. Impulsive, cunning, quick-witted. He's certainly a morally grey character, given how he doesn't care how his goal is accomplished, so long that it is. In his mind, his actions are for the greater good. It is confirmed that he sent word out into the world for someone like Chronicler to show up, seeking answers, and that he persuaded soldiers to try to rob Kvothe in an attempt to help him find his powers again. But there might be other things Bast is responsible for in his efforts to snap Kvothe out of the state he's in. Let us consider what else has happened so far in the town of Noir. A bunch of spider-like creatures called Skrael have shown up, causing problems for travellers on the road, followed by the arrival of a violent creature from the Fae, who can possess and control the bodies of its victims. The fact that Bast is proven to be responsible for 2 of these 4 major events makes me wonder whether he's also somehow connected to the Skrael and the Skin Dancer. After all, there does seem to be a pattern emerging here. In the Name of the Wind, Kvothe tells us how he learned sympathy at the university, and then fails to use it on the Skin Dancer. In The Wise Man's Fear, Kvothe explains how he learned martial arts from the Adem, and then fails to use break line technique on one of the soldiers. There is a chance that the Doors of Stone will follow the same trend, where Bast sets up a test for Kvothe, which he ultimately fails at. In any case, the Skrael and the Skin Dancer showing up are either a coincidence, or have somehow been unleashed from the Fey realm by Bast. If the latter of these 2 possibilities turns out to be true, then this flips their relationship on its head. How long will it be before Kvothe spots the pattern? It's been a terrible week for Noir, with all manner of creatures and thugs descending upon the village. Eventually, Kvothe's suspicions are going to be aroused, if they aren't already. As we progress through the story, it does seem like Bast is getting more desperate in pursuit of his goal, especially after the reveal that Kvothe spoke with the Kvothe. He becomes heartbroken to learn that his Rishi talked with the all-seeing creature, whose knowledge of the future is used to cause the worst possible outcome for all who converse with it. At first, Bast is in complete denial, refusing to believe it, but when he eventually accepts that this conversation took place, he becomes shaken and discouraged. He doesn't want to admit that his mentor talked with the Kvothe, not because it will bring catastrophe to the world, but because it will ruin Kvothe. When Chronicler tries to cheer Bast up by telling him that if whatever you're going to do is wrong, you might as well do whatever you want, Bast takes these words literally to heart. He agrees with Chronicler and tells him, if everything's going to end in tears anyway, I should do what I want. Bast then leaves, and now we've come to the most interesting part. He ends up meeting with those same soldiers he hired to attack Kvothe, and as they discuss how their plan worked out nicely, and how everyone got what they wanted, Bast chips in and says, well, he didn't get what he wanted. He starts singing a rhyme: maple, maypole, catch and carry, ash and ember, elderberry. The first time we hear this rhyme is at the start of the book, when he's deciding which drink to pour himself, but the second time we hear it has far more sinister undertones. The rhyme is similar to the Fey version of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, made clear by the fact that Bast is pointing a burning branch back and forth between the men while he sings it, as if to decide which soldier he's going to attack first. In the epilogue there are sounds coming from outside the inn, one which is described as something almost like the far-off shrieking of an owl. I believe that to be the screams of a soldier Bast is attacking. Honestly, I think Bast is a danger to himself and those around him. His true nature is like that of a child, who's easily upset when he doesn't get what he wants. He's growing frustrated, and is taking his anger out on others, including those soldiers, even though he was the one who put them up to the task of robbing Kvothe to begin with. It will be interesting to see if Bast's meddling will end up triggering Kvothe's return. I think there's a chance it may happen, but he may just end up hurting Kvothe in the process, so much so that Bast gets his mentor back, whilst losing his friendship and respect. That would be a fitting and tragic way to conclude the series, with Kvothe losing the last real friend he has left. But let me know your thoughts. Some people speculate that Bast is Felurian and Kvothe's love child, and that the reason he's sticking so close to Kvothe is to ensure he goes back to the Fae, as was agreed between the two lovers. Personally, I don't particularly buy into this theory. I mean, I guess they do share a noble title of the Twilight realm, but there is pretty strong evidence against this. For example, when Kvothe introduces Bast, he says, "Chronicler, I would like you to meet Bastas, son of Remmen." Anyway, comment down below, and if you enjoyed this video, do leave a like and subscribe for more Kingkiller content. Until next time.